Today's podcast is brought to you by Tetra Hearing. Tetra Hearing isn't just hearing protection, it's hearing perfection. Welcome back to another episode of Save for the Blind podcast. It's your usual hosts, Carson and Jeff here. And today we are going to be giving away almost $1,000 worth of waterfowl gear, hunting gear, gear in general that we have gone out and reviewed. And you as a listener or a watcher are going to be able to actually win pretty much almost everything we're looking at for free. So ways you can win is if you're watching this on YouTube, all you have to do is like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, California Waterfowl. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, all you're going to have to do is comment on that podcast platform what your favorite gear item that we reviewed is, and you will be entered. If you're seeing this clip on Facebook or Instagram, just go ahead and like and share the post, and you will be entered for the giveaway for not all of this gear. We're not going to do it just one giant giveaway, but we're going to give pieces to each person that wins. So you might be up for a dive bomb headlamp, or you might be up for some Provider spice rub, maybe a brand new gun case. We got tons of stuff. So we're kind of going to jump into our review from top to bottom, and we'll tell you what the product is, what they retail for, what we thought about it, and see where this takes us. So first thing we got on this list, I'm going to hold it up. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see right here. I have two spice rubs that are made by the company The Provider. They sent us two different ones. One is fowl and one is drop tine. So fowl, obviously, for waterfowl. And drop tine, it says perfect for venison to beef. So I went this week and pulled some duck breasts out of my freezer, skin on, used the fowl Provider spice rub. And I'm normally a guy that rubs with just kind of like salt, pepper, whatever I have in my cabinet. I don't normally grab like a blend, a pre-made blend. And this was awesome. Smoky, sweet. I really liked it. It was simple. It wasn't overpowering. I cook my ducks skin side down, cast iron, get it nice and crispy. I use this middle of the cooking process. And it was great. I'm definitely going to use it again. The lid is off on this one, so we are not going to be sending this out to anybody, but the drop tine is still sealed. So this will be one of the items that you can potentially win in the giveaway. So like I said, this Provider rubs and spices. The drop tine is perfect for venison to beef. I enjoyed it. It was great. I'd go back in a
What
heartbeat.
can you compare it to in terms of your skillet or hot? How you typically cooking your ducks? Barbecue.
So the flavor that it gave the ducks was, almost like a brown sugar kind of sweet and savory flavor. I'm normally, like I said, like a salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, kind of just plain flavors. Let the game show through. This was enough where I got that kind of barbecue-ish flavor without using a barbecue. Like I said, it was just cast iron on my stove. But it didn't overpower, which I like because I like the tastes of the game that I cook, and I don't like to just mask it with a ton of barbecue sauce or whatever it is. I want to know what I'm eating still in a good way. I don't overcook my duck. I want it nice and rare. But this really allowed kind of the duck to shine through with giving it that flavor that I was looking for. If you're looking to pick these up, they do have a website. Each one of these jars, which I don't know, I cooked a whole meal,
They're big.
Barely took the top off of it, and it's $12.50 for each one. So you get your money's worth, I would say, definitely.
And they have a long line. I think they have some swine products, Upland Game, etc.
Bunch of different ones.
We've used some of their products at home too. But yeah, super satisfied with it. So I would imagine the drop time would be no exception to that.
Yeah, so that was first review I got to do this week, and definitely pleased.
Sweet. I'm usually a salt and pepper type of a guy, but always like to switch it up too.
Yeah.
Second on the list, so we're going to do an ammo review. Very excited about the different types of shotgun shells that we did shoot. So we have everything from a couple different boss loads, heavy metal, a new one called Epic.
Yep.
Go over that. We have a new federal shot, and I also shot just the regular federal speed shot. It's what I shoot normally every single day. So we did pattern them on these sweet little targets right here. They look like a duck. You got about a 10-inch circle around it, but it also shows kill shots and things like that. So we went ahead and went 40 yards on these targets. I definitely thought some would react differently when we were patterning them.
And
so
to preface this, I haven't seen any of these. Jeff went and patterned them with one of our other employees, so this is going to be all new to me. So I'm excited to see what these look like.
Yeah, so I mean, everything on the duck targets were shot with a Benelli M2, just regular modified choke. That's what comes out of the case. So no specific aftermarket choke, etc. And then I also shot it on a 12-inch circle with my own personal duck gun with an aftermarket choke, and there was some variances there. But looking at the loads that we have, from the Boss Heavy Shot Epic to the new Federal Ultra Stacked, what do you think outperformed? Just by looking at it. So we have, for example, we have the new Boss Wolfram. So this is like a tungsten alloy. So these are number 7 shot. So 2 3/4. The other Boss load is called the War Chiefs. So this specific load is stacked 3s and 5s, ounce and 3/4 ounce copper plated bismuth. All right. So these things are bad boys. It does say on their website, either use a full or improved modified choke on these for, patterns past 40 yards. So I didn't have a tighter choke. I have what we call a mid-range choke, which is technically just an aftermarket modified. And then we have the Federal Premium Ultra Steel Double Stack. So the double stacks are 2s and 4s, and it's more of a precision steel that's similar, that's in their black cloud loads, the regular steel loads. And then we have the tungstens. They're 2s and BBs. This is another stacked load. And then we have these new Epic Shot, which they're called their TNT Magnums. It's number 4 bismuth and number 8 TSS. So
that just screams deadly to me.
Yeah, right. So I mean, the stacked shotgun shells is
coming out hot. Apparently, it's a new wave.
Like it's the craze, right? Haven't shot a lot of stacked shells. Probably some of the price points are a little bit high, right? But out of those, what do you think was kind of leading your mind and going when we first got all the ammo to shoot?
My go-to, just based off of the statistics that I'm looking at, I would have to go with the Epic. The 4s and the 8s, I think with 8s being so small, you're going to carry so much shot in that payload. But having bismuth number 4s backing it up, you're still going to have the knockdown power. My second guess would have been the Wolfram's number 7 tungstens, just because there's so much shot in that shot shell going down range. You do lose a little bit of knockdown power because they are 7s. It is a tungsten alloy, so it's very heavy and dense.
Yeah.
But the surface area, of a 7 isn't the same of the surface area of a 4. So,
but it's tungsten.
It's tungsten, but in the Epics you have the TSS and the bismuth. So my initial guess would be that the Epics, I don't know, on paper would be the most deadly.
Yeah. So I thought going into it, just the 7s, right? You'd have it's a 2 3/4 shell, but you'd still have
not
more
much shot, but you still have tons of shot being full 7.
Yeah, so that one happened to be the highest average in the 10-inch circle and the highest average on the pellets per duck. Okay.
Oh.
Number 2 was the Epic round.
I was right there.
Yeah. So, but it went from so the Boss Wolfram.
Yeah.
We averaged 55 shots in a 10-inch circle.
So if you guys want to see this, Jeff has the actual targets.
Yeah, if you're looking at that, I mean, it is.
That's deadly.
You're not missing that duck, right? So you might. That's 40 yards, right? So I mean, that's
dead.
That's dead, right? Now the epic was still super impressive. So that's an epic one right there. Yeah, I mean,
so you can see some of the bigger holes from the 4s as compared to the 8s going through.
Yeah,
still very, very deadly. Either of those, I'd be completely happy with.
Right. Okay, so now let's check out this round.
And for everybody listening and watching, unfortunately, due to legal reasons, we can't give out ammunition.
So what do you think that round was?
Those are some big holes. They looked relatively similar. Is that the 2 BB stack?
No.
No?
Second guess. Give me a second chance here.
Federal Speed Shock number 2. They're all the same.
They are. Yeah, so that's my load right there. That's what I shoot. But I mean...
the pattern's well out of your gun.
Pattern's well. Well, this is not out of my gun, so it changes.
Okay.
Yeah, it does change. So this is the Benelli M2, right? Great load. So that was our number 3. So it averaged 32 pellets within that 10-inch circle. Okay. And then it averaged 24 actually on the duck itself.
Still would be a great load to shoot.
Right.
I mean, you know, and we're talking about looking at this piece of paper and there's pellets on target. And then you got to think about what really gets down where we start breaking down price is those tungsten alloys, those heavier metals downrange are probably going to carry, you know, force equals mass times acceleration. If your mass isn't that great going downrange, you're not going to have as much force or knockdown power. So even though the pellet count is relatively the same, the force might not be the same, but, you know, coming with waterfowl, if you break a wing, it's pretty easy to do that. So just some considerations downrange, but pellet numbers on target, great. Hands down, great.
But I will say these targets are super cool. I love just shooting them and kind of seeing everything. So this one right here, this is coming in 4. So this is our Boss 3s and 5s, 1 3/4 ounce. Okay, so these things they're hot.
Yeah, they're packing
a punch here. So that was 4th, just right behind the Federal Speed Shot, the number 2s. Again, they do recommend a tighter choke for these, you know, for more downrange power, but super happy with that as well. And it's interesting how it changes with my personal shotgun. The next on the list, which I was really excited out of all these loads, I've been shooting Federal for a long time. Was a huge Kent Fasto guy for a long time.
Yeah,
and
lived off of that.
Yeah, it was cheap or, you know.
Killed ducks.
It's budget friendly, right? And now they're all pretty much the same. I think Federal, I just bought some on Rogers for like 70 cents a load. So they were awesome. But I was super excited about these Ultra Steel double stack 2s and 4s because, you know, I usually shoot 2s most of the time. I was like 4s mix. Awesome, right on. So we do know that they stack them with the higher load first and then the smaller load below. So those ones came in 5th on the Benelli M2. I was a little bit shocked. I thought that would be a little bit higher. After seeing the number 2 Speed Shock and how well that did, I figured, man, we got more pellets with 4s in there. Like that thing's going to
light up
2nd or 1st.
Yeah.
And it just really didn't pattern that well out of that gun for whatever reason. And like I said, it does change. And the one that came in last for us on the guns that we shot was the heavy metal. They're a 2 and a BB tungsten blend, you know, 1 1/4 ounce coming out 1,450. And not a huge surprise because, I mean, we're shooting 2s and BBs, so less pellets.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Not great downrange pattern.
No. I mean,
Would you kill the duck? Sure.
Yeah. I mean, we had... So let's go run-of-the-mill number 2s. We had 32 within that 10-inch circle, okay, 32 pellets. And with this heavy metal, we averaged 10.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty big difference. I mean, that's 20 pellets.
That's a really big difference.
You know what I mean? So the BBs and the tungsten didn't pattern well out of that particular gun there. So,
which, just talking about this is why
You got to pattern.
You have to pattern your gun. Because, and we're about to show you, just because one gun shoots one load a certain way doesn't mean that it will react the same out of a different gun. They all react differently. So do you have those other targets, or do you have the data?
I have the data.
Okay.
I have the targets, but they're different. They're not as cool as these. These ones were 12-inch targets. So Boss Wolfram number 7s, surprise, surprise, won again with 51 pellets within that 12-inch.
And
circle.
when you're shooting straight number 7s and no stack, your odds are high.
Yeah, so that patterned really well. That's a 2 3/4 load. Next was the Epic. Okay, now this is out of my personal. It's a gas gun, mid-range choke. So the Epic TNT bismuth. Now it's bismuth 4s and number 8 TSS, which you just think of that and like that's a deadly. That's gonna be
again
deadly.
Lots of pellets downrange.
Lots of pellets downrange. Basically, Epic was a couple more in the 12-inch circle than the Boss. I mean, they're pretty even. We got 44 and 41. So I mean, those are pretty much tied, right?
Okay.
So I was really impressed with the Boss shell out of my gun. And then the Federal Premium Ultra Double Stacked performed better in my personal gun than just the Federal Speed Shock.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it performed better than the normal round
than the ones you
shoot.
normally shoot.
Yeah, I normally shoot, 1.25 ounces.
Okay, that's
number 2-inch
interesting.
3s. Yeah, so I was excited about that because I was really interested in that.
Yeah, because you're gonna
particular.
if you would shoot that out of your own gun and not a gun that you were borrowing.
Yep, exactly. And then second to last was the number 2, my normal load. Okay, and then last again was the heavy metal 2s and BB tungstens, 1.25 ounces. And remember, we're only getting 10 on the duck, right?
Yeah.
And we averaged 10 with them, and we averaged 13 out of my gun.
Interesting.
So both rounds, it did not pattern well for whatever reason out of either of the guns that I was shooting. So we went from, the Wolframs in the 50s, okay, 50 pellets. We got the Epic and Boss basically tied in the low 40s. And then we have the Federal Speed Shock and the Federal Double Stack real close to each other in the high 20s, right? But the price point changes on these drastically. So, I mean, the Wolframs, if you could afford them,
top one on that list.
So we're looking at $57 per 10.
$5.70 every time you pull that trigger.
Every time you shoot, compared to, a Federal round like the Speed Shocks. You're 70 cents to...
Yeah, I looked it up
right?
on their website. They're running $28 per box on their website. That's not, Rogers or anywhere where you can get a deal. So let's just call it $1 a shell on the high end.
Yeah. So we got the Epics now. So that is... Did you see 280 there?
$280 for 100 shells. So if you're used to a normal box of shells, that would be 4 boxes for $280 for the Epic. And then let's see, the Federal Ultra Steel Double Stack is coming in at $43 per box.
That's on Federal's page.
Federal's
right?
page, like I said, all these prices are directly from the manufacturer's page. Then we go down to the Boss shot shells. You're going to have a box of 20, so not a full box of 25.
So these are the War Chiefs. These are the 3s and 5s, 1 3/4 copper-plated bismuth, all right?
Those are running you $45 for a box of 20. So you're not getting a full box of 25 like you normally would. $45 for a box of 20. Then the last, we have the heavy metal, the 3-inch 2s and BBs tungsten mix. And from the website, those are running $62 per box. So cheap is not what the game we were playing, but it was very interesting to see the differences in, stuff held true. Smaller shot, more shot, going to be more pellets on target, but also, is it worth it versus you can be just as effective with a Federal Speed Shock number 2? I would be interested to go out and take these in a hunting scenario and see, maybe shoot the 7s for 2 straight days and then maybe shoot the regular federal speed shocks and see if your either accuracy increases because there's more pellets downrange, or your number of crippled birds reduces because you're shooting a higher density load. I have no clue. I've never personally been able to shoot any ammo like this at waterfowls.
Yeah, but to your point, I think price point's important for most folks. If I could, I think anyone would want to shoot, tungsten and bismuth all the time, just the knockdown power. But again, if you're consistently shooting birds at under 40 yards, that are decoying, you should be able to get it for a good price point, in my opinion, too, for someone that does hunt a lot. Now, a lot of these boxes here, I mean, they're awesome, but it might be out of your price range, and then you got to kind of figure out, when am I going to use that, on a super special hunt and bring it out and then shoot?
Go to the Midwest and you're shooting snow geese with no plug.
I don't know.
When do you decide to bring them out?
Yeah.
You go out in the rice and waste them on 7 spoons?
Probably wouldn't do that, no. But I think, the Wolfram shot, pretty cool. I mean, shooting 7s, pattern really tight in both guns. I was impressed with the double stacked Federals in my gun, so that was, to me, probably the most impressive thing, because I thought it was going to outperform the speed shock on both guns, and it definitely changed in mine. So I'm like, do I need to switch up what I'm doing with my gun? The Epic shot, that's the first time I've seen that stuff or heard about it.
Impressive through both guns, consistent.
Yeah, very consistent. And, per round, more expensive, but kind of mid-range in that more expensive, shot shell.
Yeah.
It's not $6-7 a shot. It's a little less. So, if you could find that, that's pretty cool. A lot of people are shooting Boss these days.
Yeah, especially in those lighter sub gauges.
Yeah, I know a lot of duck guys. I mean, they're all kind of switching to Boss, and they like their product and seem to be happy with it. But I think the bottom of the line is most people don't ever put it back on paper.
No, never.
Even as a duck hunter, you get kind of complacent, like, oh yeah, I'm shooting fine with that. I don't
kill ducks.
But I think it's eye-opening of once you actually go pattern, figure out where your gun is shooting.
I just think about how many times I've gone into my garage, and everybody's done this, grab the old random shell bag of mix and match, and it's like, how different are my patterns in 3 shots coming out of my gun with 3 different shells just because they were leftovers? You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, all of the last month of the season, I was kind of just
grab bagging it.
Like, hey, here's a half a box over here. I need to shoot this box just because couldn't find a lot of ammo around.
Yeah.
Didn't really want to buy anymore. You have all these half-open boxes or thrown over here because they got dirty or whatever it might have been. But it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Like, shockingly makes a difference. So this is our ammo review for the 2024-25 kind of lineup. Again, Federal Speed Shot, the new double stack from Federal, the Epic TNTs, 2 types of Bosses, what they're calling their Wolfram. These are in their number 7s that we shot. Their War Chiefs, which I think would be a really deadly goose load. I mean, that thing seems pretty on par. And then we got the heavy metal, which I've shot some heavy metal in the past. Really liked it. Tends to be kind of on the upper end of the price range, but I think if you're a big goose guy shooting 2s and BBs and find a pattern or a choke that it really likes, to me it sounds like a good load. I mean, 2s and BBs mix.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move off from stuff we can't give away and get to stuff we can give away. So the next thing I'm going to pull out, I'm going to have to get out of my seat really quick, are some Pintail decoys. So Rig 'em Right sent us a 6-pack of, Jeff, you want to put that on the table in front of you? a 6-pack of Drake Pintail Decoys. They came in 2 designs, I guess, head shapes, postures. And we are going to be giving these away. The 6-pack we're going to be giving away as a toll. They come in a 6-pack, $110. I have never truly been a Rig'em decoy fan, and we pulled these out, and they honestly look pretty darn good. They have the that kind of soft plastic that a lot of decoys are going to, where you can kind of squish it down, and you're not worried about the paint chipping off. I think Avian X kind of first started it. Now a lot of companies are following suit, but it is a good-looking decoy, solid paint scheme. Head posture is great, and
standard body style in terms of size, very comparable to a green headgear or Avian X or whatnot. But
there's 4 connection points for your lines off the keel. They're just a solid looking decoy.
Yeah, I like how they're not super rigid. A lot of the decoy manufacturers seem to be going that route, for stuff not splitting and things like that. Did the old nail test to the white paint, seemed normal, comparable to all other brands. What do you think about paint schemes, posture?
Everything I see seems spot on. As we know, decoys really make or break after you leave them out, especially for rice hunters. If you leave them out all year and the fading they get or how keels hold up. So honestly, whoever ends up winning these, probably give us a shout out at the end of the year and let us know how they held up, because I'm interested to see. One of the ones that Jeff's has in his hand right now is kind of interesting. It has a little bit darker head than all the other ones. Like the paint didn't come out the same.
So this is the green headgear line.
Oh, that's exactly why. It's a completely different decoy.
This is the green headgear line, pintail. So yeah, you're right. It does have a darker head. Postures are
very similar.
Very a little too similar. Green headgear, their decoy has been out for some time. We use all their products at our properties. Biggest difference, they have a little bit more detail, I'd say, on their feathers.
Yeah,
you got their wing coming up here. A little bit of variances on the paint on the pintail and things like that.
But as far as what an actual duck can notice, probably not much.
Yeah, probably not. And it's just all kind of personal preference on who you go with, whatever store you're in and what they carry. But I don't know how long Rig'em been making decoy. That's fairly new, I believe. A little bit smaller of a keel design on the Rig'em. It kind of looks like double or triple welded to help with the keel from cracking. Light. I mean, they're not a heavy decoy, But even the green headgear, I think everyone's kind of lighting their stuff down. Both keels are sanded, so self-riding all the way. But
no, I mean, as far as a new decoy offering, I think they're great until somebody proves me otherwise and says they throw them out and they sink the first couple times. But as far as look, feel, appearance, A+, honestly.
Yeah, so in that pack, you got 4 upright and then 1 you'd consider a swimmer. The only thing I would say with the green headgear, a darker decoy, which I tend to like because darker colors kind of show up further away, but they have more poses that come in their 6-pack opposed to just the 4 uprights and the 2 swimmers. So a little bit of a variety on the green headgear side of things. But yeah, in terms of size, very similar. What we would call a standard decoy. It's not
they're not
an
magnums.
oversized. Yeah, people call them a life size.
Yeah,
but
so like I said, those will be given away to somebody that's either watching or listening. Jeff, what do you want to go for next?
You know me, I love me some motion. So let's get these motion decoys out here. So we have a.
Which one do you want to do first?
So let's do the Lucky Ducks. We have a Lucky Duck XHDi spinner. Retails for about $200.
So this one will not be given away. This is staying in our warehouse, but the very next one we bring out will be given away. So first thing first, when we took it out of the box.
What do you like about it?
Well, what I noticed about it, and I don't know if I like it or not, the top of the wings are flocked.
Yeah.
I like it in theory. I don't know how they'll hold up in rain and putting them in and out of bags. They've got the normal magnetic wing attachment that most spinning wing decoys have nowadays. They have a cool system that they have a little bit of weight on the white side of the wing. So whenever you turn off the spinning wing, it always comes down on the white side. So if you have geese working and you turn it down, the black side's always going to be facing up. But definitely the biggest thing I see is the wing shape, a little bit different than your normal.
Definitely a different cutout design.
Yeah, the cutout's different. And I don't know what their theory is behind it, but the flocking on the top of the wing I have not seen before on a spinning wing decoy. So interested to see how they hold up. They have a pretty cool battery compartment. It has basically 2 push clips. You can clip or push in and then pull out. It's just one.
You can unhook it again inside the box if you wanted to. But basically, it's a component that has your battery, your remote transmitter, etc. Seems really easy to get out. Way better than the old days of the batteries and trying to hook up the alligator clips and all of that.
Battery simple. They don't come with like real feet like the Mojo do. They have the Lucky Duck kind of orange strap that gets wrapped around the pole. So the cool thing that I like about the Lucky Duck is they do offer a 5-foot extension you can buy for your pole, so you can get them way up in the air if you're hunting in deep water. As far as paint schemes, kind of just normal spinning wing decoy paint scheme. There's nothing special. Does seem a little bit shiny on the head.
Yeah, it's a big head.
It's a big head. But for me personally, when it comes to spinning wing decoys, I'm more worried about functionality and how easy it is to turn it on to charge the battery, things like that, as opposed to the super fine details. You know, if a duck can get close enough to see the details in the head, the duck's close enough to shoot at. So,
and these come with a remote.
They do come with a remote, yep.
Intermittent, you could have it on all the time, or you could turn it off and on with the remote. I know a lot of people like that, but it seems like the remotes kind of come normal now within the package. But I don't. We'll have to get the Lucky Duck and the Mojo side by side. The wings are a little bit different. They're kind of really wide by the body and then slim down towards the ends, and then they're kind of cut like a big notch at the end. So haven't seen that design, but guarantee it gives off a different flash than something else. So it's just not that same rhythm of a spinner.
Yeah. So to compare it, we have the new Mojo Mallard, and we will be giving this one away. Price point, Jeff, where are we at?
Yeah, so the Mojo is $199. So, I mean, there's literally not much of a difference between the Mojo Mallard and the Lucky Duck XHDi. Mojo is $1 less.
See if I can put it together. I would say the Mojo is definitely a little bit heavier, just in hand, because I was holding the Lucky Duck pretty easy, and this thing is definitely heavier.
Yeah, that probably has to do with their battery system. This one is a hard body decoy. The Lucky Duck one was kind of squishy. This newer Mojo, man, what I do like about this, it's kind of got a bungee in the back of it, and that whole system just kind of slides down. And then you got your battery and your remote and everything that you need right there. So it's super quick. And then the charging port is actually just built right into the battery itself. So you just take it out and then you put your charger back in there and ready to roll. There's a place to keep your remote nice and secure in the body, which is nice. Most guys have it on their duck call or their lanyards, which works too. But super easy to get in and out of. It is a little bit on the heavier side, but what I do like is they brought back more like the metal wing type.
It's not that, I don't even know what they're using, almost like a cardboard before that would break.
Yeah.
The Mojo definitely has a faster spin than the Lucky Duck.
I've always liked a little bit faster of a wing spin personally, but quiet, comes with the remote, does have the reel feet. Now the reel feet you can move them around. They're not like the old ones of old that would
They're just stuck in one position.
And they would break like when it get cold. Paint scheme on it's good. It's more, I would say, lifelike, and then
they almost use like taxidermy eyes for the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes look like they're looking at you. The one thing that I don't know if I've never really seen it, but it's mounted. You want to mount it in the pole. So it's not just a straight the decoy is going to sit in a straight line. It kind of sits
at an angle,
which is cool.
Like a duck's coming into land and it's kind of making that bank right at the end.
Yeah, so it's just not horizontal like most are.
You want to talk about the pole? Because that's something that you really, really liked.
Yeah, so when we're talking about the pole, it's painted. It seems like not necessarily like a chair coating, but it's definitely...
It is sturdy.
It's very sturdy and thick. I like... It's put together by D-rings. And I personally like that because, if you're hunting with a lot of stuff and you have the push-in pins... They just get rusted and break and fall off. But the pole itself is not the square tubing of old.
Correct, yeah.
It is a round tubing, and, man, it just feels...
Doesn't feel like it's going to go anywhere.
It feels well built. Right?
I hunted a brand I shall not name, spinning wing decoy, last year or the year before, and it was a very strong wind, and I pulled that motion duck out of the water and the pole was bent like from the wind, and I can guarantee you that Mojo pole is not bending. There's no way you're bending that pole via wind. It's not going to happen.
Well, what's nice, too, is you could buy the extensions too and put the D-rings in there and be ready to roll, depending if you're hunting deeper water. Or this would work just fine for the rice fields. But I like the color design on the Mojo a little bit more. Put these
next to each other and see. So you can see how much bigger. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see how much thicker the Lucky Duck is compared, and it has a little more ridging to it, like physical.
Feathers are higher,
Yeah. Paint scheme's pretty similar, but the wing shape is completely different. I mean, absolutely, no doubt about it, 100% different.
Put your wings on.
We're spinning.
Yeah,
so it looks so much different. I mean, maybe that's a good thing. I have never seen anything like it, to be honest. The way these wings spin. Look at the flash those create. That's interesting.
It's like it's kind of almost like the Avian X flash almost. It's like a little bit different than
a regular Mojo that everybody's used to.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in the camp of doing something a little bit different, that could definitely be it. No,
maybe it will. I don't know.
No, but out of both brands, I mean, magnetic wings, they're must.
Remotes come with both.
Easeability, they're both there. The charging hubs.
The decoys, the motion decoys, have seemed like they've come a long way in the past couple of years with how you access the charging, how you access the batteries. There's not just random wires running everywhere that you're trying to figure out in the dark.
It's super easy, kind of more of a plug and play now. But I definitely do like the new metal wings, like the shape. I think they're the right size. I would go maybe a little bit bigger if there are some. Like I remember the first Mojo, they were a big metal wing. Now they were loud. This thing's super quiet.
Yeah, all these are quiet.
But those older Mojos, man, they were pretty.
But
loud.
Guess what? Somebody, either a listener or a watcher, is going to get that sent to them. So again, there was some instructions on how to register for all these items at the beginning of the podcast, and we'll remind you at the end how you can register as well. So the next item that I want to go for is actually a gun case. So Browning, Wicked Wing, they came out with a new gun case. It is a floating gun case. Very cool looking. They kind of have their own camo style to it. It has one zippered pocket about halfway through that has a shell holder in it. You can hold, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, randomly 11 shells.
That's detachable or not?
Yeah, it's a detachable shell holder. So if you want to put 11 shells in your gun case, you can. If you want to take it out and put choke tubes, actual just groups of shells in there, you can. So nice pocket. Floating gun case, so if it falls out of your boat or falls off your shoulder, it will float. It's got one buckle at the top, which is very nice. It just goes around. At the top, it is neither Velcroed nor really connected. It just opens up. And then on the inside, you have a thick padded case that is going to protect your gun. And the cool thing is if you do get water in it, it's removable. So I could take this out. This is what it looks like. And I can then dry it out if for some reason it got wet. But this is the floating part, the protection part that sits down in the actual outer surface of the gun case. So all around, I like it. Maybe an improvement is metal buckles instead of hard plastic, just, stuff breaks. But other than that, it's got a carry strap, shoulder strap, as well as just a hand.
Yeah, it's like the welded looking material, right?
Yeah.
Like out of a dry bag.
Yeah, it's like a dry bag material, exactly.
Looks really well built. I mean, it's a decent price point. It's only $70 retail. That's pretty much going rate. But yeah, the metal, would have been a nice upgrade. But I mean,
yeah, it's
great looking case. I do like the camo pattern, and I like how we put our stuff in a machine sometimes or out in the elements, so not getting it sopping wet before going out to the blind, or throwing that thing at the bottom of the blind and know that it's not going to get soaking wet. Is always kind of figuring out what to do with your gun case once you get out to the duck hole.
Gun case are gun cases. Some are better than others. This one looks like it has the right things going for it. Obviously, I'm not going to test out, but one of our listeners or watchers will, and I'd love to know how it works.
Well, what I like, it's big. Like
it is big. Yeah, I wouldn't worry.
Because there's some gun cases you buy them and your gun may not fit in them because they're made a little bit short.
Yeah,
I've
you have
had
like a 28 with an extended choke
I've
tube,
had
and
like
it hits
that
the end
twice, and you can't buckle it on the bottom. But this thing's big enough; you could buckle it back in. Looks really well built, and I do like that welded material. Just to help keeps the water out.
Yeah, no, it's all around. Just I'd say solid gun case.
Yeah.
Jeff, what are you grabbing next?
What do we have? So I was super excited about this product. So it's Dive Bomb Industries, okay?
And this is a giveaway also. So
this is a giveaway. I wish I was keeping this thing because it is bad. So this is one of their new headlamps. So it does have a bunch of options. One, you can go full,
full bright.
Full bright, all of them. It's 1,000 looms. Does give you a couple different options between putting in, AA batteries or a rechargeable. Well, what's really neat about it is, one, the thing's built like a tank. It's like all metal. I thought it would be a little bit hard to put on your head because it is heavy in your hand.
It feels heavy in the hand.
But it's got a nice back of the head rest, like go on the back of your skull. And distribution of weight, couldn't really tell much, to be honest, once it's on. It does have a big range of motion. You can move it kind of up and down. But what I really liked about this was the charging port is in one of the sides. You just unscrew it. So, it's not going to get water and stuff in there. And it's just an iPhone charger, essentially. So super, super easy to charge. And like I said, you have a couple different ways to battery it. So if you don't have a charger... this thing retails for
like $85.
$85, so it is built
to last
a while. But I took it out with my regular. I use the Husky 1,000 looms. It's one of like the unbreakable ones. this thing, it was shocking of how much brighter it was for the same illumination. But like I said, it is built. It's heavy, but it's heavy duty where I think if you break this thing, put it in the water, etc., you're going to have it for a number of seasons.
I like that it has, like we were talking about earlier, most headlamps, you have like 3 positions once they go on your head. It's like high, low, and into your brim of your hat. This one's almost like on a rolling system.
Oh, yeah. You can go straight up.
It's almost like if anybody's ever dealt with a rifle scope and you make your adjustments up and down and it clicks. Same thing. There's just little clicks and there's like 9 trillion different angles that you can have it at, which is great, depending on the hat you're at, depending on what you're trying to illuminate.
Yeah.
I really like that feature.
And there's no plastic on the headlamp itself.
Which is rare.
Yeah, because normally you break them in the back because you drop them or anything like that where your straps come in. I mean, everyone's experienced that. This thing is a tank.
It does have red light functions. It does have less bright functions. What about batteries?
Yeah, so they give you a rechargeable battery with it, and then they give you a couple of the accessories to charge it. And it gives you the option to put, the little AA's and stuff in there too. So super cool. Comes with a bunch of different functions. Like I said, I definitely wanted to keep this thing. Or I'm gonna have to buy one.
So make a deal with whoever wins it.
Send it back. This thing's sweet. Everyone needs a headlamp. I mean, you're duck hunting. It's 2024. You shouldn't be carrying a flashlight around. So, really impressed with this headlamp. It seems really well built. Whoever gets it, would love to hear back from you guys. But yeah, I mean, out of all the products, this one was really impressive. Of just the design, how it's built, and it just feels and looks like it's built well, ready to hunt.
Yeah.
So super cool.
Good. Next one we're going to move on to is Tetra Hearing. So Tetra, actually the sponsor of Save It for the Blind podcast, was able to hook up myself and Jeff with some Tetra Hearing. What they sent us were the Waterfowl Alpha Shield Premium 90s. So they come in this cool case. And your hearing protection is almost like a Apple hearing, or what do they call it? AirPods. Almost a little bit like an AirPod in a sense. They're small. They fit really well into my ear. And I'm going to kind of talk about the differences because I have had my fights with hearing protection over the years. The hearing protection I used to use previously, I liked certain things about it, but they didn't fit. These come with multiple sizes of the foam or rubber parts that go into your ears, and you can find a really good fit. I've probably stuck, 5 or 6 different relatively high-end brands of hearing protection in my ear, and the Tetras were hands down the most comfortable, where I am not going to worry about them falling out of my ear, period. They just fit my ear well. If for some reason you do have a little bit different shaped ears, they offer custom molds. Going to be a little more on the higher end. The Tetra, the Waterfowl Alpha Shield Premium 90s run $1,099. They offer one lower version that's around $750, and then they offer some higher versions around $1,500 that will get you custom molds and a few extra doodads. Talking about the positives, I love how crystal clear I can hear. The directional hearing of, we use these at our summer camp. I could hear kids talking behind me. I could hear kids talking different ways. I could, when the guns would go off, it doesn't cancel it out where you don't hear anything. It just lowers it to that level that's not dangerous to your ears. You can still focus on other things. And then we decided to test it with duck calls. So Jeff was duck calling. I was sitting next to him like I'd be in a blind. And he can talk about, how it actually felt when he was calling. But sitting next to him, I could still hear all those very fine pitch changes that somebody who needs to or listens to a call needs to be able to hear instead of just kind of that dumbed down sound where you start making bad habits out of your calling. That to me was the biggest improvement out of any electronic hearing protection that I've ever had. Every single one that I've had previous to this, you get on that duck call, you get on that spec call, it hits a certain pitch and it completely cuts out. And you're trying to hear your calling in some weird way, basically like you plugged your ears. These aren't like them.
Yeah, I mean, that was always my fear of, I've wore other brands, and more in the earmuff style because I have very weird shaped ear canals, apparently. And I couldn't hear my duck call, or it was very distorted, so I would never wear noise canceling ears. I would usually use one ear plug, like the little disposable ones, in one of my ears. But I think what I was most impressed, once I got my fit down, because it did take me a while to find the right combination of the plugs at the end to fit in my ear. So actually one ear is a completely different size than my right ear. So once I got that down, I was good because the first day I wore them, they weren't sat in right.
Yeah,
and I got a lot of wind noise and stuff like that. And then once I finally put them in correctly, that basically went away. So when we started on my duck call, it's like the first note registers like at a different decibel, and then it like goes back to normal, just is not as loud in that safe range.
It takes like a half a second. It's
like your first note. But
yeah.
The thing that I think I was most impressed was with the spec call. I mean, that's a loud, ear piercing call, and that thing is like it's like I had nothing on. It's a lower range, but I could still hear everything that I needed to in the call from the top end to the low end. Same thing with the duck call, and we went the whistle route too.
Yeah,
and was really impressed with that. I was actually shocked because the first day I ever wore them, like I said, I did not fit them correctly in my ear. I thought
not a fan.
I was not happy. So after fitting them correctly in my ear and doing that, then I've been very happy. I shot all day yesterday with them. No issues at all, right? Ran a tractor for a little bit with them. So what I think is cool is like these ones, they have different ranges within just the waterfowl mode. I think there's 3 waterfowl modes. There's waterfowl, magnum,
range, and then the custom or the clear hearing.
Yeah, so some of them, like you pick up a lot more, like when we're instructing, like you could hear the bird behind you in the blackberry patch, and you can hear the kid. So it's all personal preference for the most part on that stuff. But in the waterfowl stuff, I was very happy with the calling component of it. Because like I said, that's the main reason why I never wore hearing protection, because the calling side of hunting really does it for me, and that's what I like to experience.
It's the main reason a lot of hunters don't wear hearing protection.
Yeah, because it just sounds so distorted and it gets you messed up. So, basically hit a home run with that stuff. Was very impressive, especially with the spec call. I think that kind of set it apart. Putting on my other hearing protection, the earmuffs not happening. Yeah, with the
one thing
call.
I'd like to see, price point of $10.99 is steep for some people. I would like them, and they do in the higher end models. They do offer Bluetooth and rechargeable batteries for the Alpha Shields. The battery is a little compartment that you open, and you insert these little batteries and you close it. As soon as you close it, your ear protection is turned on. So to turn it off, you have to open the battery compartment out. Not too big of a deal, but I would in the future like to see the ability to put these on a charger overnight for that kind of money. If somebody's spending that kind of money, they kind of want everything on their wish list, and
they have those.
You just got to fork over a little more money.
A little bit more money. And these are just the small little hearing aid batteries that you could find at any retailer checking out of a grocery store. But yeah, I mean, you got to have to put those in. I'm thinking about it as like, well, I'll probably put them in my truck, before I go out to the blind.
I'm thinking the same thing.
I'm not out in the blind and dropping something or a battery and making sure that they're in. Some of their other ones, they do have tethers that you could tether them in. I didn't see a tether point
I
in
don't
these
think
ones
there's
just
tether
because
points
how
on
they
these ones.
fit
Yeah.
down into your ear.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely if you do buy a pair, quality's great. Just make sure that you are fitting them correctly in your ear. You can go online. I know you looked up some stuff online, kind of the functionality. There's a little button in the back that will change your modes. So you just change to whatever mode that you would like, and it will tell you what you're listening to, like range, comms, waterfowl, magnum, waterfowl. So there's a little button in the back built into the piece that you just press.
Yeah, functionality's there. The hearing protection part of it is great. Like I said, unfortunately, these aren't being given away because these are mine and Jeff's personals, but I'm sure in the future, working with Tetra, we'll have some stuff going through CWA, whether it's a podcast or just general giveaways through CWA. We'll have their products out here in the future.
Yeah.
So what else are we going to? Let's go to something that we're going to give away.
Yeah. So we have next. I've done a couple demos on these products before. Not the specific one, but this is from Big Lake Outdoor Products. So what they're selling is, it's called a Pintail Popper whistle pack. So like the Morrisall whistles that everyone has seen, they're plastic. These ones are very similar design. They're just made out of wood. So in this pack, what they call this Pintail Popper pack, they have what we would call a traditional Morrisall whistle, made out of wood. So this has a little dowel inside of it that helps you blow the call without fluttering your tongue, right?
Yeah, if you can't roll your tongue.
Yeah, so, here's one of them. I haven't seen this particular model before, but this is the sound of one of them. And again, I am a roll the tongue type of a guy, so these are a little bit subdued for me. They're not as loud. Okay, here's the second one, kind of more the traditional design. Okay, so those are the Big Lake, what we would call the pintails. Okay, so I'm going to go to, for reference, those are the pintail models. They vary in terms of the sound, and this is what I blow on my call, just for reference. It's a wing setter, right?
So what I hear,
you have to roll your tongue.
Yours is
though.
deeper, but I don't hear as much roll as you get in those Big Lake calls. But yours is a deeper sound, but
yeah,
the rolling is much more defined in those wood calls.
Yeah, so it's all personal preference,
Yeah.
and I like to roll my tongue. But the sound's good. They're wooden, which also gives it a different sound as well. We have just the traditional, black, what I think it was the Duck Commander that first came out with them. These things are like $2-3. Just for reference, this is what their pintail would sound like. Okay. I know a lot of people and a lot of new hunters, they can't roll their tongue. So these things are great for anyone that can and can't do that.
Yeah.
Just all personal preference. The last call in the pack.
So again, this is a package. It comes with all 3 calls. So if you win this, you're going to get all 3 of these calls.
Yeah.
The pack retails for $90.
Yeah. So there's the Pintail Passion, the Premier Pintail, and the Widgeon Magnet.
The Widgeon Magnet.
Okay.
It's the one.
This thing is bad. This Widgeon call is super cool. It's very nasally sounding. It kind of looks like if someone, the end of it, like when you make a call or a whistle out of 2 ends of a shotgun shell.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. But have not seen a call similar to this.
I haven't heard a call similar to that.
It's tiny, right? And there's a small little place in the middle
Imagine
of it.
a big thumb. It's about the size of Jeff's top of his thumb. That's how small it is.
Pretty much, right? So this is the sound of this thing, and they're calling it the Widgeon Magnet. Ooh, fell out. That thing's sweet.
Yeah,
okay?
so
I've not heard a sound like that.
If it's not coming across via your podcast or YouTube the way it actually sounds, it is the... I don't know to call it the most realistic or the most interesting.
It's
just
nasally. It's like very nasally.
It's awesome.
Widget.
It's awesome.
It is cool. I'm impressed. Like, I like this thing a lot.
Yeah, you can't make that sound with a normal.
So here's my normal one, which I think is hard to beat.
It's just not. It's not the same sound.
It's just a different sound. So here's that Big Lake widgeon magnet. I just like that nasally sound. It's interesting, right? And that's not a sound I've heard very often on a widgeon call.
Yeah,
you know?
But I feel like I've heard that pitch from a widgeon.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. You know, sitting on the pond, I've heard that sound before.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love my wing setter, but this thing is sweet. Like, I got to get one of those. So whoever gets that one too, awesome. Kudos to you, because this is a 3-call pack, comes in a little clear case. So we're at $90 for those 3.
So you get 3 calls for $90. Now, granted, 2 of them are technically the same. 2 of them are pintail calls, but still, you get a dedicated widgeon call and a dedicated pintail call for $90, and they sound great. Why not?
Yeah, and they're wood. So I mean, in my opinion, wood gives a more natural sound. Sometimes a little bit lighter. Can change if it's wet, etc. But yeah, out of all of those, the widgeon magnet was cool. When I first called that thing, I was like, whoa, what is this? So just looking at it, you don't think much of it, but was a fan of that. That was super cool. What kind of call, widgeon and pintail call do you have?
Same thing. Well, no, I use that black one, that cheap black finger in the hole.
So you roll your tongue guy. Yeah. But no, the Big Lake calls, what they're calling their pintail popper whistle pack. Again, it's coming with a Pintail Passion, Premier Pintail, and the widgeon magnet.
Get you some
of that. So whoever gets that, awesome. That's all you need for California is a whistle pack. So last review item, one of the bigger items, and this is also going to be a giveaway, is a brand new pair of waders. So hopefully, if you win it, size 11. Size 11.
Okay. So what we have here is Banded's new Phantom waders. They are retailing for $350. They are completely breathable, uninsulated, perfect for California hunters. And like Jeff said, they're brand new, size 11 on the boot. So, talk about material. This material that they have is much better than their previous waders. We've had a bunch of their previous waders before. Whatever this material is, I don't know the name of it.
It's like thicker. It's not like a Sitka Gore-Tex, but it's similar. It's more rigid.
Doesn't feel like it's gonna get poked through easily.
It's thicker. It's definitely thicker. Yeah, I mean, looking at that wader at that price point, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah.
The price point is really good. There's new boots on them. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have any internal pockets. You have 2 fleece-lined hand pockets in the front. You also have 2 zippered pockets in the front for cell phone, keys, stuff like that. Comes with a wader belt. One-piece design. They don't have the kind of sheath over the legs that they used to have in some of their waders. It's just straight down. Almost reminds me of the old Cabela's uninsulated waders that were just like boot wader, nothing special, but got the job done.
Yeah.
And they seem to be built really well. They have the banded design of the shoulder straps, where one shoulder strap does not unbuckle, which is the right side, so that there's not a buckle in the way if you shoulder your gun. The left side does unbuckle and comes over so you can slip into your waders. But again, not bad. They're in Realtree Max 7, size 11, regulars.
And they kind of look like if you're get a visual, they kind of look like almost the top of them, kind of like that newer brand Chin. Mm-hmm. You know, the tops of them kind of look real similar. They're not zippered. Yeah, I was not a fan of the old sheath style, where if people are familiar with banded waders, it was more like a pair of pants on the outside of the wader for abrasion. But you know, when you're walking through rice fields, etc., and if you're short like me, those pants always tend to go a little bit further past the boot, so easier to fall down. A lot more resistance in the pond when you're walking with water. I like how those ones don't have them on there, but on those ones, there's no knee padding or anything like that. There's no knee
padding. You're correct.
I don't know how important that is if you're not like in ice or.
If you're a rice hunter, don't eat it.
Even if you're a refuge hunter,
don't eat it.
Yeah, I mean, like the only times I ever needed knee pads or like something on the knee is like hunting out of a boat all the time.
Yeah,
you know, because ice and it gets stuck to the boat and you rip or whatever. But yeah, I mean, for the price point, looking at them and when we got them before we looked up that price, I thought they were going to be $800-900.
Yeah,
because the material felt much better than the old stuff. Boots seemed improved. Pockets and stuff seemed simpler, watertight. Not as much fancy stuff going on with all the different pockets and things like that.
Maybe they went back to more of like just plain, how does a wader work versus all the knickknacks, lights, and this kind of stuff. Just plain functionality, because that's kind of what the market's missing right now, is just a good middle to lower price point wader, $300-350 that just works and works consistently.
Yeah, I mean, at that price point, that is budget friendly, in my opinion. For the quality, it seems like that you're getting. I mean, they seem well built. Like I said, that material is different that they've had in the past. It seems thicker, a little bit more rigid, more like what you would see in I think their higher end lines, what they're using now. And yeah, I mean, they look good.
Yeah. Hopefully they hunt good.
Yeah.
So if you happen to join this podcast halfway through or started the YouTube video halfway through, we just went through a ton of gear reviews. We're giving away most of the stuff we reviewed. I'm going to go back over how you can get registered for that giveaway. So if you're watching on YouTube, just like and subscribe to our channel, Cal Waterfowl. Like this video. If you are listening on any podcast format, just leave a comment on this podcast about what your favorite piece of gear that we reviewed is. And if you're seeing this on Facebook or Instagram, just go ahead and give the post a like and a share, and you'll be entered for the giveaway. We'll be running these giveaways. We'll announce the winners on social media, and we'll be sending you the gear that you won. So we'd like to thank all of our partners who sent us this gear that we were able to give away today, because without them, you would just be sitting here watching me and Jeff talk about nothing or our own gear. Yeah. So we really appreciate it. And this was one of the more fun podcasts we've got to do. And we hope that we can do more of these in the future and give back to the waterfowling community. Jeff, you have anything else?
No, it was fun. Interesting to always see new products. I'm a product gadget guy, always have. So it was kind of fun to put a lot of this stuff to the test and see what you liked and disliked. And yeah, good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.